Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Grammarian's Guide 22, the grammar workshop organized by the Advanced English Skills Improvement Unit of Royal College. My name is Tandu Ratnayakar, and I'm highly privileged to host today's workshop. First, to start things up, I cordially invite the chairman of the Advanced English Skills Improvement Unit, Sumudhu Abevikrama, to welcome the gathering. Sumudhu Aya, over to you.
Thank you, Danidu. Good morning, Principal Sir, Mr. P.S.A.P. Jayalak, Deputy Principals, Assistant Principal, and Senior Master of Clubs and Societies, Mr. T.D.C.P. Amaratunga, Assistant Principal, Senior Games Master, Mr. M.A.M. Riaz, Assistant Principal, Middle Section, Mrs. Sandamali Gamage, and other Assistant Principals, Teacher in charge of the Advanced English Skills Improvement Unit of Royal College, Mrs. Vasana Vijay-Singha, Guest Lecturer, Ms. Madhuresha Chathurani, and my dear Royals. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you to Grammarian's Guide 22, the grammar workshop organized by the Advanced English Skills Improvement Unit of Royal College. Grammarian's Guide 22 is a workshop consisting of two phases, focusing on improving the English grammatical skills of our young royalists. The first phase, which will be happening today, is conducted by a well-experienced professional from the field of higher education, Ms. Madhuresha Chathurani, and it will be based on active voice and passive voice. So boys, I'm sure it will be a valuable experience for all who are taking part today. So I hope you listen well, interact with the lecturer, and help us make today's session a success. Thank you, and over to you, Danidu.
Thank you for that wonderful speech. Next, I would love to introduce our guest lecturer. She is an external examiner for the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, and she possesses more than 12 years of experience as a consultant and lecturer at the National Institute of Business Management. She is a dedicated professional with the ability to provide excellent service to students, and she also successfully conducts and directs certificate courses, advanced certificate courses, and diploma in English for professionals and locals as well as international degrees. Please join me welcoming none other than Ms. Madhuresha Chathurani to conduct today's workshop. Over to you, madam.
Thank you so much, Danidu, for your amazing introduction. A very good morning to everybody. Welcome to the webinar on active voice and passive voice. Let me firstly upload my proper presentation, share the screen. Hold on. Right. Some of you must have already seen me because I did 2 workshops last year as well, one on phrasal verbs and the other one was on question types. Today, we are meeting to discuss about active voice and passive voice, 2 important types of writing. You know why? If you don't use the right type, your sentences will not be effective. And what you want to communicate cannot be communicated effectively. Therefore, we need to learn the uses of these two types. That's what we'll be focusing today. First of all, I want you to have a look at these four sentences. As for you, are these four sentences correct? Have a look at the first one. Someone cleans our classrooms every day. Seems to be all right. Yeah? Someone, singular, cleans, subject verb agreement is there, and the sentence is meaningful. It can stand on its own. Yeah, it looks fine. Look at the second. People do not use this road mark. Fine, miss. They seem to be all right. Yes, that is true. They are grammatically correct. They are meaningful. Look at the third one. People make most of the vehicles in Japan. Factually correct, grammatically correct. All these four sentences seem to be correct. They make cheese from milk. I'm sure everybody agrees with this. So if I ask you the question whether these four sentences are correct, you would definitely say, yes, miss, they are grammatically correct. I agree with you. I totally agree with you. But have a look at the subject of the first sentence. Someone cleans. Does this word, does this subject add any value to your sentence? Does this word add any meaning to your sentences? Yeah? People do not use this road march. When you say people, isn't this vague? This is not specific, right? See, someone cleans our classroom. Who do you mean by someone? Is it definite? Can you point out who this person is? No, right? See, these words can be omitted without harming the meaning of the sentence, because these words add no meaning to our sentence. These words do not add any value to our sentence. Obviously, we can get rid of them. If we omit them, there's no harm to the sentence. So they are redundant words. Here, the writer has used active voice. Instead, the writer could have used passive voice. See, even though these sentences are grammatically correct, there's no grammatical error here, but the style is inappropriate. We call them what? Grammatical errors? No, we call them stylistic errors. In writing, we make a lot of stylistic errors. This is one of them. So after this webinar, I want you to know the uses of active voice and passive voice, and I want you to figure out, you should be able to figure out the correct time. Okay, so my point is, even though these sentences are grammatically correct, even though they are grammatically correct, the time that the writer has used is inappropriate. Instead, the writer could have used passive voice. They are called stylistic errors. Let's move on. How do you know that a sentence is active voice or passive voice? First of all, let's talk about the identification. You should be able to identify, you should be able to differentiate active voice sentences from passive voice sentences. Let's do this initially. Have a look at these four sentences. I have underlined the subject, which is the doer. They requested the staff members to be punctual. How do you know this is active voice? When it comes to active voice sentences, it's the subject which performs the action. Subject is the thing or the person which performs the action. Here, they did what? Requested. Whom? The staff members. To do what? To be punctual. See, subject has been underlined. Subject is the thing or the person which performs the action. See, they requested. Look at the second. Amali did what? Played. What? The violin. Where? At the concert. The subject performs the action. They are active voice sentences. So how do you identify an active voice sentence? Look at the subject. See whether it performs the action. If so, that is an active voice sentence. Look at the third one. The president. Subject. Subject performs the action, will deliver. What? The keynote speech, the keynote address. Look at the final one. The principal. Subject The one who performs the action. Punished. Whom? The students. Why? What for? For their misconduct, for their misbehavior. If you look at these 4 sentences, you will see that understanding active voice sentences is easy. If you compare active voice sentences with passive voice, you will feel that understanding active voice sentences is quite easy. Why? Because they directly communicate the message. You can see who does what. They, what? Requested. Whom? The staff members. To do what? To be punctual. You see, it's very direct. Yeah, it's very direct. So understanding active voice sentences is so easy. This is one of the most commonly used types in writing. And also, this type will help you to make your reader engaged. Reader becomes engaged. Reader starts to question, Amali, what? Played. Played what? The violin. Where? At the concert. You see, the reader tends to be more engaged when it comes to active voice sentences. Okay, so remember, this is the most commonly used type in writing. Passive voice is also used. That's why we have these 2 voices, active voice as well as passive voice. But this is the most commonly used type in writing. I'm sure now you are aware, now you know how to differentiate active voice sentences from passive voice sentences. If I quickly summarize, look at the subject. If the subject is the thing or the person performing the action, that is an active voice sentence. And also, remember, active voice sentences tend to be a little bit authoritative as well. That's why when it comes to sensitive situations, when it comes to conveying sensitive information, we tend to use passive voice, because passive voice can soften your message a little bit. For example, if you use active voice to inform a customer that the person has not made the payment, what will happen? You have not made the payment. Is this sentence grammatically correct? Yeah, that is grammatically correct, but it sounds too authoritative, too direct. You have not made the payment. Your customer, your reader can be offended. Your reader will feel bad about it. You haven't made the payment. How would you feel? You feel bad, right? Instead, you could have used passive voice, because passive voice can soften your message a little bit, especially when it comes to negative messages. That's why we advise our students to use passive voice. We are going to discuss them in detail, don't worry. So for the time being, remember, when it comes to active voice, the subject performs the action and the subject occurs before the verb. It appears before the verb. See, they requested, Amali played, the president will deliver, the principal punished. You see, the subject tends to appear before the verb. Okay, and active voice sentences are very direct and they are very easy to understand. Plus, this is the most common type in writing. Moving on. Now I have a small task. Let's see whether these sentences are active voice or passive voice. Let's see whether you can differentiate active voice sentences from passive voice sentences. Look at the first one. They are going to the market. Do you think this is active voice or passive voice? Look at the subject. See whether the subject performs the action. If yes, this is active voice. Anybody? Is this active voice or passive voice as for you? Now you know how to identify active voice sentences. Is this active voice? Can you raise your hand if you think this is an active voice sentence? Oh yeah, that's great. I'm so happy, glad. Thank you so much for your response. Obviously, this is an active voice sentence. They, this is a subject. Look at the verb, are going where? To the market. This is an active voice sentence. Look at the second. Cheese is made from milk. If you think this is an active voice sentence, please raise your hand. Please raise your hand if you think the second one is an active voice sentence. Do you think second one is an active voice sentence? Can you see the doer, the person who does the action? Can you see a doer here? A person who does the action? No, right? Doer is not mentioned in the second sentence. This is the object. Cheese is made from milk. Who makes cheese? It's not mentioned. It's not important. What you want to say is cheese hadane kirivali. You don't want to mention the doer. Simply you want to say cheese hadane kirivali. Cheese is made from milk. This is not active voice. The doer is not mentioned here. This is passive voice. You see, when it comes to passive voice sentences, you don't want to mention the doer. That's why you use passive voice. If you want to mention the doer, you could have used active voice. One of the uses of passive voice is to get rid of the doer. We are going to discuss this in detail. Don't worry. Have a look at this sentence. Look at the third one. Look at the third one. The committee has rejected the budget. The committee has rejected the budget. Do you think this is an active voice sentence or a passive voice sentence? Raise your hand if you think this is an active voice sentence. This is? That's correct. Yes, I can see your responses. Great, amazing, good job. Well done, guys. This is active voice. Why do you think this is active voice? The doer. The doer is there. Who rejected the budget? The committee. It's mentioned. The committee, see, and the subject appears before the verb. The committee, what? Has rejected the budget. This is active voice. Look at the fourth. What about this? The budget has been rejected. There's a problem. Why? Why? Our budget has been rejected. Is this active voice or passive voice? The budget has been rejected. This is? Raise your hand if you think this is active voice. Raise your hand if you think this is active voice. No, nobody's raising your hands. Great. Well done. This is passive voice. How do you know this is passive voice? The person who does the action or the person who did the action is not mentioned. The doer is not mentioned. Only the object has been given. The budget has been rejected. Who rejected the budget? Not mentioned. This is passive voice. Look at the fifth one. A good news for you. The exams were postponed. You know what? Exams were postponed. Exams were postponed. Raise your hand if you think this is an active voice sentence. Raise your hand if you think this is an active voice sentence. This is not, right? This is not. Why? Who postponed the exams? Not given, not mentioned. This is passive voice. Exams were postponed. Who did it? Not mentioned. So this is passive voice. What about this one? You've been promoted. You've been promoted. Wow, promote Karela. There's a good news for you. You've been promoted. Do you think this is active voice? Raise your hand if you think this is active voice. Raise your hand if you think this is active voice. This is passive voice. Why? Why do you think this is passive voice? Who promoted the other party, the other person? Not mentioned. You have been promoted. Oyava promote vela. Oyava promote karela. Who promoted? It's not mentioned. It can be the committee, it can be the director general, it can be the chairperson, it can be the company. The doer is not mentioned here. Okay, you tell your friend, you know what? You've been promoted. Annoyed promotion eka kambela. Oyava promote karela. Kawuda promote kare eyava? Eka mention ve nane. This is passive voice. This is not active voice. Look at the seventh. Teachers do what? Evaluate. What? What do they evaluate? The progress of the students. How often? Monthly. Teachers evaluate the progress of students monthly. Once in 2 months. Is this active voice? Raise your hand if you think this is an active voice sentence. Teachers do what? Evaluate. What? The progress. This is active voice. Why? The doer is given here. The person who does the action. The subject is the person who performs the action. Teachers evaluate the progress. This is active voice. Okay, the last one. Students are evaluated monthly. Students are evaluated monthly. හැම මාසෙම students ලා evaluate කරනවා. Do you think this is active voice? No, right? This is not active voice. Who evaluates the students? Is it mentioned? Is it given? It's not. Only the action is mentioned. ක්‍රියාව කරන කෙනාව mention කරලා නැහැ. ක්‍රියාව විතරක් mention කරලා තියෙනවා. Students are evaluated monthly. This is passive voice. You see, identifying active voice is so easy. See whether the subject performs the action. If so, it's an active voice sentence. And when it comes to passive voice, mostly we don't mention the doer. The doer is omitted. I hope that's clear to you. Any questions that you have? Can I move on? Okay. Let's now, oops, sorry. Let's now discuss the uses of passive voice. Let's now discuss the uses of passive voice. This is the most important part of our lesson, as I feel, as I believe. The uses. You should know where to use passive voice. I have several situations for you. First one, let's start with the first. When the doer is unknown. What does that mean? If we don't know the doer, how are we going to talk about that incident? How are we going to talk about that incident? We don't know who did that action. You can still use active voice for that, but then you will have to use words like somebody, someone, somebody, someone. Are they definite? Do they give us a clear idea, clear picture about the person? No, right? And we don't use such words in business writing, in academic writing. For a conversation, that's fine. Suppose you're having a discussion with your friends, you're having a chit chat with your friends, and you might say, someone has robbed my purse, someone has damaged my computer. That's fine. But when it comes to written communication, your letter, your email, what else, your report. When it comes to written communication, we don't use words like someone, somebody, because they add no meaning to our sentence. They add no value to our sentence. Great if we can get rid of those meaningless words, redundant words. අනවශ්‍ය වචන අපි හලන්න බලමු අපේ writing වලදී. Let me give you an example. Suppose you placed an order, you received the goods, and when you check the goods, several items have been damaged. Okay, items keep damaged vela. Are you going to keep quiet now? No, you can't. You have made a payment. You can't keep quiet. You have to inform them. You have to inform about the damages to the goods. How are you going to inform? You can make them a phone call, but if you inform them in writing, that will they will immediately take action for that. More than verbal communication, written communication is very effective when it comes to complaining and all. People respond immediately for written communication. Now we are going to send them an email informing about the damages to the goods. If you are going to use active voice, you have to say, someone has damaged several items. See, even though this is grammatically correct, the style is inappropriate. You have used the word someone, which adds no meaning to our sentence, which adds no value to our sentence. This would be more effective if you use passive voice. You mention what happened. Who did it? You don't know. The doer is unknown. Go for passive. You could have said, several items have been damaged. Items keep damaged. Who did it? You don't know. So instead of active voice, try passive voice when you do not know the doer, when the doer is unknown. Another example, someone has robbed the Citibank yesterday. Do we know who robbed the bank? No idea. In newspaper headlines, do you see somebody has robbed? No, right? Because this word does not add any value to your sentence. Get rid of that word. It's redundant. How can you say? How can you give the same idea? The Citibank has been robbed. The Citibank has been robbed. You see? So number one, if the doer is unknown, if we don't know the doer, use passive voice instead of active voice. Active voice is fine, but then you will have to use words like someone, somebody, which are meaningless. Number one, when the doer is unknown, go for passive voice. Second, when the doer is unimportant to my reader, මගේ reader වැදගත් නෑ doer කවුද කියලා. If the doer is not important, why should I mention it? I should not mention it if it's not important to my reader, if it's not important to my listener. For example, suppose you ordered something, and when they want to get back to you, do you think they would say, Ravi will deliver your parcel on this day? Is it important for you to know the person who delivers the parcel? Does it have any impact? Whether it's Raviyo, Kamalo, Sunilo, Amar, is it important for you? No. What matters for you is when am I getting my parcel? That's what you want to know. The person who delivers the package is not important for you. So if the writer thinks knowing the person is not important to the reader, they can omit it. They can drop it because it's not important to my reader. Instead of saying, Ravi will deliver your parcel, you could have said, your parcel will be delivered on this day. I'm happy. That's what I want to know. Who delivers it? I'm not bothered. I don't mind whether it's Ravi or Sunilo, Kamalo, Amma. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is the dates. Your parcel will be delivered on 15th July. Clear? So if you think mentioning the doer is unimportant, don't mention it. Then what's the option you have? Passive voice. Because when it comes to passive voice, you can convey your idea without mentioning the doer. අපිට passive voice වලදී option එකක් තියෙනවා ක්‍රියාව කරන කෙනාව mention නොකර ක්‍රියාව විතරක් mention කරන්න. Just like in this example, your parcel will be delivered on 15th July. Clear? Suppose, okay, look at second. Ms. Amali will rectify the error. Imagine you attended a workshop, you received the certificate, and your name is incorrect. And you point it out. Do you want to know who is going to correct it? Is it important for you? It's not important for you. You want a new certificate with a correct name. That's all you want. So they don't want to mention the person who is going to correct the error. Miss Amali will rectify the error. I don't want to know the person who rectifies the error. All I want to know is whether this can be corrected, whether a new certificate can be given to me or not. That's my concern. I don't want to know who is going to correct it. Clear? So if you think knowing the doer is not important to my reader, to my listener, go for passive voice. Let me give you another example. Suppose you bought a new computer and you ask from your friend, can I use your computer for a while? Your friend will ask, what happened to your new computer? What happened to your new computer? Eka update වෙන ගමන් ඒක update කරන ගමන්. Do you want to mention a doer? No, right? Your friend wants to know what has happened to your computer. Why? What happened to your computer? If you use active voice for that response, you will have to say, someone is updating it. I am updating it. Grammatically correct. Your sentence is grammatically correct. But doesn't that sound weird? Yeah, right? update karno. Even in singular, we don't mention the doer. How do we respond? Ek update වෙන ගම. Ek update කරන ගම. See? We don't mention the doer because it's not important. Then go for passive. It's been updated. Ek update venagama, ek update karanagama. It's been updated. I had to send an urgent email. Can I use your computer for a while? Why? What happened to your computer? It's been updated. Ek update venagama. Who is updating it? It's not important. Clear? So if the doer is not important for the reader, for the listener, use passive voice. Don't mention the doer because it's not important. I hope this is clear to you. You can raise your hand if you have a question, or else you can post your question in the chat box as well. Third one. So up to now, we discussed two situations where we can use passive voice. One, if we don't know the doer. Second, if the doer is not important to my reader, to my listener. This is the third. If the doer is obvious. If everybody knows the doer, do we need to mention it? Hamoma doer dannana ek api aayai mention karanna oneda. Let me give you an example. Imagine you are writing an essay on paddy cultivation in Sri Lanka. Your essay is on paddy cultivation. Suppose you are going to use active voice. How will your essay look like? In all the sentences, you will have to use the word farmers. Farmers cultivate paddy in 2 seasons. Farmers do this, farmers do that, farmers decide. If you are going to use active voice, you have to use the doer. You have to mention the doer, which is farmers. Don't we know who cultivates paddy? Do you think you need to mention that? Who else does it? When I call the paddy cultivate karani, farmers need. Make a hamova done there. It's obvious. The doer is obvious. Engineers don't do that. Doctors don't do that. Farmers do that. So if the doer is obvious, if everybody knows it, why do we need to mention it? No need. You could simply say, paddy is cultivated in 2 seasons in Sri Lanka. Lankawe kumburu govitan karanawa kanna dekaka. Kawuda govitan karanne? Eka kiyanna awashya naha. Mokada hamoma danna deyak. So if the doer is obvious, if your reader knows the doer, don't mention it. I hope that's clear to you. Okay, look at the next example. The Director General will hold the AGM on this day. Now, in my organization, we have different meetings. We have faculty meetings, we have progress review meetings, we have the AGM, annual general meeting. Then, අපිට ඔය meeting එක ගැන inform කරනකොට සාමාන්‍යයෙන් mention කරන්නේ කවුද meeting එක chair කරන්නේ, කවුද මේක තියන්නේ කියලා. ඇයි? අපි හැමෝම දන්නවා. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් AGM එක තියන්නේ Director General, chair කරන්නේ Director General. We know it. If we know the doer, there's no need to mention it. In our memos, we don't see the Director General will hold the AGM on this day. This sentence is grammatically correct. There's nothing wrong with this sentence. But since everybody knows the doer, the writer could have used passive voice. Passive voice is more appropriate. You can get rid of the doer. Why? Everybody knows it. Everybody knows who chairs the meeting, who conducts it. Everybody knows it. If everybody knows it, why do we need to mention it? You can drop it. See, you could say the AGM will be held on this day. Who conducts it? Who chairs the meeting? All of us know. If we know it, don't mention it. Is that clear to you? So if the doer is known, if everybody knows the doer, if it's clear to everybody, don't mention it. Hold on, I think I have. What should we use? Okay, this is what we are discussing. No? Where should we use passive voice? That is what we are discussing now. Fourth one. There's another situation where you can use passive voice. What is it? If the object is more important than the doer, if the object is more important than the doer, let me explain this with examples, then you'll understand. Amila appointed Pia as a treasurer. Who is the doer here? Amila. Kriyawa karanne kawuda? Amila. Active voice sentence. Amila did what? Appointed. Whom? Pia. This is the object. This is the subject. This is the object. මෙතන ඇත්තටම වැදගත් පුද්ගලයා කවුද? පියාල්. දන්නවද? පියාල්ව treasurer විදියට appoint වුණා. This is the news. Piyal is the most important person here. So start with Piyal. Start your sentence with the object because object is more important than the doer, which is Amila. මෙතන ඇත්තටම news එක වෙන්නේ මේ පාර පියාල් වනි treasurer විදියට appoint වුණේ. This is the news. Start your sentence with Piyal. You know what? Piyal was appointed as a treasurer at the meeting. Piyal was appointed. Who appointed Piyal? If you think that the object is more important than the doer, passive voice is ideal. So instead of saying Amila appointed Piyal, you could have said, you know what? Piyal was appointed as the treasurer this time. Piyal, when you appoint a treasurer with the other, that's the news. Object is the most important part that you want to highlight. Use passive voice. When you use active voice, you highlight the doer. ඇත්තටම මෙතන වැදගත්කම වැඩි ක්‍රියාව කරන කෙනාට වඩා object එක. If you think that the object is more important, go for passive voice. Something similar. They have selected you for the position of marketing manager. They, subject, have selected verb. Object, you. මොකද නිවුස් එක? ඔයාව අන්න select කරලා මේ position එකට. ඔයාව select කරලා marketing manager position එකට. This is the news. This is what you want to highlight. You are excited. You are happy. How do you convey this happy news? You know what? You've been selected for the position of marketing manager. කවුද select කරගෙන තියෙන්නේ? ඒක එච්චරම වැදගත් නෑ. ඒක අපි දන්නවා. Is that clear to you? So if the object is more important than the doer, go for passive voice. Because in passive voice sentences, you start your sentence with the object. Abhi passive voice sentence එකක් පටන් ගන්නේ subject වලින්ද object වලින්ද? Object එකෙන්. So if you want to highlight the object, here, Pia. Here, you. If you want to highlight the object, passive voice is ideal. I'll be summarizing them one more time. Moving on to the next. To refuse something or someone diplomatically. I think at the very beginning of our session, I referred to this a little bit. I told you if you want to convey a sensitive message, passive voice is ideal. Now, there are situations where you want to say no to somebody. අපිට එහෙම අවස්ථා සිද්ධ වෙනවනේ නේද? කෙනෙක්ට දෙයක් අපිට රිෆියුස් කරන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා. It's a negative message. It's a sensitive thing. If you use active voice, it can hurt your reader because it's too direct. See? They have rejected your application. Grammatically correct. It's meaningful. But the weight is too much. Make it a weight. They have rejected your application. Reader will be offended. Reader will be hurt. You can give the same idea more effectively in passive voice. Passive voice can soften your message. Negative message එකක් ටිකක් soft විදියට අපිට communicate කරන්න පුළුවන් passive voice use කළාම. See the examples. HSA has suspended your credit card facilities. See, you are refusing something. It's a negative message. Instead of using active voice, use passive voice here. Your credit card facilities have been suspended. When your phone is disconnected, do they say dialogue disconnected your line? Mobitel disconnected your line? It's a negative message. Yeah. Upsetting news. They don't use active voice for that. They use passive voice. Your line is disconnected. You see, we use passive voice to communicate negative messages. If it's a sensitive message, if it's a negative message, if you want to say no to something, use passive voice. It can soften the negativity. එකේ තියෙන negativity අපිට චුට්ටක් අඩු කරගන්න පුළුවන් passive voice වලින්. Second example, they have rejected your application. You can soften it with passive voice. Your application has been rejected. Same news, same message, but you can soften the negativity. You can lessen the negativity a little bit. Okay, so if you want to say no to something, if you want to refuse something or someone, if it's a sensitive message, you can use passive voice. The example I gave you at the beginning of the session is, you have not made the payments. You can soften it a little bit. You can make it less forceful. Your payment has not been your payment has not been reached. Your payment has not been reached. Passive voice is ideal because it's a negative message. Right. This is the last one. Processes. Sometimes we will have to explain processes. Process explain just in case someone asks you a question. How is jam made? How is jam made? Now you have to explain the process. When you explain a process, passive voice is ideal. Why? Think of using active voice to explain this process. How are you going to explain this? Okay, first of all, people harvest the fruits. Then people transport the fruits to the factory. At the factory, people grade them, wash them, peel them, slice them, blanch them, and then they fill them to tins. What's wrong with that? I have to use the word people in all the sentences. People harvest the fruits, people transport the fruits, people grade the fruits. See, my sentences seem to be very monotonous, boring, and repetitive. Hey, I'm a sentence like people, people, people. I can make my explanation more effective with passive voice. I'm going to say, right, first of all, fruits are harvested. Islam palaturu nelaganno. Who does it? No need to mention. No need to mention. Mata danagandoni jam hadane komada. I want to know the process, not the person who does the action. See, so when it comes to processes, passive voice is ideal. Have a look. You could say, first of all, fruits are harvested. Secondly, they are transported to the nearest factory. Who transport them? You don't want to mention. At the factory, what happens to the fruits? They are graded, washed, peeled, sliced, and blanched. Later on, they are filled into tins and juice or syrup is added. Who adds them? Not important. Process not the person who does the action. Then these tins are sealed and cooked for 10 minutes. After that, they are allowed to cool and stored. Finally, they are labeled and dispatched to the market. See? You don't want to mention a dura. You are explaining the process. What happens? How is jam made? See, to explain a process, active voice is also possible, but there's a problem in your answer. What is the problem? One problem is your passage will be lengthy. Repeat people, somebody, someone, you have to repeat. With the repetitive words, your passage tends to be repetitive. Repeat. People, people, people. So it tends to be repetitive, lengthy, and not effective. Instead of active voice, use passive voice. Because when you use passive voice, you can omit the doer. Apita puluwan kriyawa karana kenawa drop karala. Siddha vena de vitarak mention karanda. Is that clear to you? Let's have a look at another process. This is how a bread is made. You have the ingredients, you mix the ingredients, you divide them into pieces and you mold them into shape. You put them to a tin for proofing, then you bake them, you take them again from the tin, you cool them a little bit, then slicing, wrapping, assembling, and loaded onto vans for delivery. If you're going to use active voice, what will happen? People mix all the ingredients. Then people divide the mixture into pieces. Then people mold the mixture into shapes and place them into tins. After that, people place them into tins for proofing. After that, people bake the bread. See, it sounds repetitive because in each sentence I use the word people, not effective. Use passive voice. First of all the ingredients are mixed. How the mix karanne? No need to mention. Secondly, the mixture is divided into pieces. Mishrane kyali kyali walata kada ganna. Who does it? Not important to mention. Okay? Thirdly, they are molded into shapes and placed into tins for proofing. Who does it? Don't mention, it's not important. Your reader wants to know, your listener wants to know the process. After that, they are baked, detinned, cooled, sliced, and wrapped. ඔක්කොම සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ පාංගෙඩියටනේ. එකම sentence එකක් ලියන්න පුළුවන් commas වලින් verbs use කරලා. Finally, they are assembled and loaded onto van. Which one is more effective, active voice or passive voice? To explain the process, passive voice is ideal. When you use active voice, your explanation looks repetitive, monotonous, boring, and lengthy. That's why we recommend you to use passive voice. These are the situations where we use passive voice. If I quickly summarize the uses of passive voice. Sorry, we use passive voice if we don't know the doer. We use passive voice if the doer is not important to my reader. We use passive voice if the doer is known, if the doer is obvious, if everybody knows the doer. We can use passive voice. At the same time, when you want to say no to something, when you want to refuse something, when you want to convey a negative message, a sensitive message, passive voice is ideal. At the same time, you think the object is more important than the doer. ක්‍රියාව කරන කෙනාට වඩා object එක තමයි මම highlight කරන්න ඕන කියලා හිතනවා නම් passive voice ideal. And finally, for processes, when you want to explain a process, try using passive voice. I hope that's clear to you. If you do have questions, please post them in the chat box. Right. Now, let's discuss the steps. How do we write a passive voice sentence? Writing active voice sentences is fine. Miss, if I want to write it in passive voice, what should I do? How can I turn it into passive voice? It's so easy. There are only 5 steps that you need to follow. First one, you need to identify the object. Sentence ki object එක අඳුර ගන්න. Subject, verb, object. That is number 1. Number 2, bring the object forward. I'm going to show you examples. Don't worry. For the time being, listen. Identify the object, bring it forward. Because we start passive voice sentences with the object. Right. Third one, we have to write an appropriate helping verb. I have given you a table. I'm going to show you a table. You will see the helping verbs for each tense. Hammer tense ekada helping verbs mama ogalanta table ekaka pennana. Don't worry. Identify the object, bring it forward, write the appropriate helping verb, and then write the past participle form of the main verb. Past participle form, I'm going to explain with examples. Finally, omit the doer. Drop the doer if it is unnecessary. Identify the object, bring it forward, write the appropriate helping verb, write the past participle form, no ing, no s, no es, past participle form. See, saw, seen, past participle. Eat, ate, eaten, past participle. Do, did, done, past participle. And finally, omit the doer if it's unnecessary. Hold on. This is the table which I was referring to. If your active voice sentence is in simple present tense, what is the pattern? Bring the object forward. This is simple present tense. Am or is or are plus past participle form of the main verb. I'm going to show you examples for each tense. Just listen. Present continuous tense. This is a pattern. Bring the object forward. Am or is or are plus being. Continuous sentence ekakna being use window ne plus past participle form of a main verb. Present perfect. Bring the object forward, has or have, be double en past participle form of the main verb. Present perfect continuous tense. Bring the object forward, has or have, been plus being plus past participle form of the main verb. If it's simple past tense, enang amisa wenda ba was or were plus past participle. Past continuous tense, was or were, being, past participle. Past perfect, present perfect, no? Has, have, been. This is past perfect. Had been, past participle. Past perfect continuous, object comes forward, had, be double en, being, past participle form. You need to remember the patterns for each tense. If you remember the patterns, it's going to be a piece of cake for you. Simple future. Bring the object forward. This is future. Will plus be plus past participle. Future continuous. Will be continuous na mataka tiyaganna being add vena. Been plus past participle. Future perfect. Will have been past participle. No options, no choices. Will have been past participle. Future perfect continuous tense. Will have been past participle. Well, I need to explain something very important to you. Have a look at present perfect continuous tense, past perfect continuous tense, future perfect continuous tense, and future continuous tense. Have you ever seen sentences with have been past participle of a verb? Had been past participle form of a verb? Have you ever come across such examples, such sentences in writing? Do we use such complex, complicated constructions in our writing? Have you ever seen such sentences? For example, payments have been checked. Have you ever seen such sentences? No, right? Look at the note. Note that passive form of present perfect continuous tense, past perfect continuous tense, perfect continuous tense, and future continuous tense, they are not commonly used. You can write them grammatically. The pattern is there. You can write them grammatically, but nobody uses the passive form of present perfect continuous, past perfect continuous, future perfect continuous, and future continuous. It's hardly used. They are hardly used, not commonly used. Okay, but remember, you can write them grammatically. Sentence එකක් දුන්නොත් grammatically අපිට ලියන්න පුළුවන් pattern එක use කරලා. But we don't use such sentences in our day-to-day conversations. We don't use them in writing as well. Not commonly used. That's why I put a note here. Now, let's look at the examples. Examples. Have a look at this example. We are processing your order. Remember the 5 steps? Identify the object. What the object? We, subject, are processing verb. Your order, this is the object. Number 2, bring the object forward. Your order. What is the helping verb? Order singular. You can't use are, is. See, here you have ing. It means you have to add being. Past participle form of a verb. Processed. Your order is being processed. Your order is being processed. You see, identify the object, bring it forward, write the helping verb. Since this has ing, you need being, past participle form of a main verb. Look at the second. This is present perfect. We have rejected your application. Identify the object, your application. Bring it forward. Yeah. Present perfect noun pattern nekone has been or have been. Application singular. Has been. Past participle rejected. Your application has been rejected. That's why I want you to remember the patterns for each tense. Great if you can remember. Look at this simple present tense sentence. We hold committee meetings monthly. We, subject, hold verb, committee meetings, object. Bring the object forward, committee meetings. What is helping verb? This is plural, is when be. Past participle form of the main verb, hold, held, held. Committee meetings are held monthly. Clear? So you need to follow the 5 steps. Identify the object, bring it forward, write the helping verb, write the past participle form of the main verb, and drop the doer, omit the doer. Some more examples for you. They were investigating the problem. This time past continuous tense. Bring the object forward. The problem, singular, was, you see ing here in being, past participle form, investigated. The problem was being investigated. Have a look at the next example. They had rejected the budget. Past perfect. Bring the object forward, the budget. What is the pattern? Had been. The budget had been rejected. See, bring the object forward, write the helping verb, past participle form of the main verb. Look at the final example. They postponed the project. Simple past tense. What is object here? The project. Bring it forward. Okay. Past tense was over. Project singular. The project was, past participle, postponed. The project was postponed due to the pandemic. It was postponed due to the pandemic. See, all you need to do is to identify the object, bring it forward, write the helping verbs, write the past participle form of the main verb, and drop the doer if it is not important. Let's look at future tense as well. 2 examples from future. They will make a decision. This is the object. Bring it forward. A decision will be, past participle, made. A decision will be made soon. A decision will be made soon. See, bring the object forward. You write the modal verb will. You add be, past participle form, made. Second, they will have achieved the targets. This is future perfect. Bring the object forward. The targets. This is the object. They, subject, will have achieved verb. The targets, object. Bring the object forward. Remember the pattern? Will have been. That's it. No choices, no options. Targets will have been, past participle form, achieved. A humble request from me is to remember the patterns for each tense. I have few questions. I think, hold on, let me quickly check them. Hold on. Yeah, obviously, I can share this with Charaka. Charaka will circulate this. Okay, Charaka will share this with you. Yeah, sure. I'll make sure. Don't worry. You'll be getting the PowerPoint presentation. No worries. Right. All these
Excuse me,
sentences
miss.
are incorrect.
Yeah, there seem to be a few people who have some questions. If you ask them to raise their hands, maybe you could give them some answers. I think they
Yeah.
haven't
If
understood
you have
something.
questions, can you please raise your hand? Can we unmute them?
Yeah, sure.
Excuse me, miss.
Yes. Go ahead, Dizanan.
What voice would you use to explain a creature's life cycle, like in presentations and all?
Well, if it's a process, passive voice is ideal. Well, Tisanan, you have to decide it based on your requirement. If you want to mention the doer, if you think the doer is important to the reader, now in certain cases, you have to mention the doer who does the action. If you think mentioning the doer is important or knowing the doer is important to the reader or to the listener, go ahead with active voice. It depends on the requirement. Now, in the example, you have been selected as the treasurer. Okay, but suppose you want to highlight the doer. Example එකක් දෙන්න. Ravi appointed Kamal as the treasurer. Imagine these two are not in good terms. මෙතන එච්චර හොඳ හිත තියෙන දෙන්නෙක් නෙමෙයි තරහ දෙන්නෙක්. එහෙම වෙලාවකත් Ravi appoint කරනවා let's say Kamal. Now you want to highlight the person who did the action because it's shocking that Ravi did it. In that case, you can use active voice. You know what? Ravi appointed Kamal as the treasurer. Itana oya highlight karane doer. Oya read it, listen it, danaganda dendone. Meha thamma meka kare. Is that correct, Disanan? So I can't tell you that you should always use active voice. You should always use passive voice. It depends on your requirement. If you think that the reader should know the doer, go ahead with active voice. Is that clear to you? Okay. Anyone else? Sandharu?
Teacher, I didn't get anything in the table.
Ah, right. Table, Sandharu, you need to remember the patterns. Hold on, let me go back to the table. Right. Here, in English, we have 12 tenses, Sandharu. Here, I have given you the patterns for all the tenses. I have made it easier for you. I have made it easier for you to write any sentence, any active voice sentence in passive voice. You can use this table. All you need to do is to remember the patterns for each tense. Suppose I'm going to give you a simple past tense sentence. Active voice past tense sentence. And I am going to ask you to write it in passive voice. If you remember the pattern, it's a piece of cake for you. What do? Identify the object, you bring it forward. Object take a singular noun was, object take a plural noun were, and then past participle form of the verb. I have made it easier for you with the table. In this table, you see the patterns for each tense. Itana mang ඊළඟට ඔයාට දෙනවා Sandharu simple future. They will hold the conference annually. And the simple future. Or danno me simple future කියලා අතර ගන්න දන්නවනේ. මේ pattern එක මතක තියාගන්න. The conference අන්න අපි ඉදිරියට ගෙනාවා. Pattern එකේ තියෙන කොහොමද? Will be past participle. The conference will be hold වල මොනවද past participle? Hold, held, held. The conference will be held annually, monthly. Clear? Now here in this table, Sandharu, you see the patterns for each tense. If you can remember the patterns, it's really easy. Present perfect now active voice sentence. What do? Bring the object forward. Has the have the kinakwa decide karanda venama Sandharu? Object take a singular noun has. Object take a plural noun have. Then present perfect will the apita use karanda venama be double en. And past participle form of a verb. Sandharu, is that clear to you? With the table, I have made it really easier for you. All you need to do is to remember the patterns. Look at the active voice sentence and then apply the pattern. Is that clear to you, Sandharu, now? Sandaru, are you there? Is that clear to you now?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, all right. Anybody else? Do we have any more questions? You can raise your hand.
මම දැක්ක තව එක්කෙනෙක් රේස් කරලා තිබුණ හෑන්ඩ් එක. තව එක්කෙනෙක් රේස් කරලා තිබුණ
Can we
හෑන්ඩ් එක.
unmute that person, Sumudu?
එයාටත් අර ප්‍රශ්නේම තමයි.
Okay, I hope the question is answered now. If we have more questions, you can bring them forward. Okay, I would be happy to answer your questions. Right, we discussed the examples, and I'll be sharing the PowerPoint presentation with you. As I was telling you, all these sentences are incorrect. They are wrong. Why? Why are they incorrect? Have a look at the first one. Students was restricted. I'm sorry. Students was strictly warned not to copy. What's wrong with this? Why is this passive voice sentence incorrect? Anybody? You can raise your hand if you can figure out the error. Raise the hand. Can we have one person? Sumita, you can unmute one person.
Because students is a plural noun.
Exactly. That's true. Students plural. Object is plural. Can we use was here? No. Students were strictly warned not to copy. Brilliant. What about the second one? Anybody? To the winner was given a prize. To the winner was given a prize. Saad, would you like to give it a try? Any idea? To the winner was given a prize. Somebody, you can unmute someone. To the winner was given a prize. What's wrong with this? Why is this incorrect? Tisanin, would you like to? Yeah. Why is this wrong? Somebody, you can unmute Tisanin. Yeah, Tisanin, go ahead.
It should be the prize was given to the winner.
Okay, prize was given to the winner. That's also correct. Agree. A prize was given to the winner. I totally agree with you. You can simply drop the preposition to. The winner was given a prize. These are called double object sentences. You have two objects here. A prize, winner. So a prize was given to the winner. I totally agree with you. This is still correct. If not, something really simple that you can do is to omit the preposition to. You could say, the winner was given a prize, I was given a prize, we were given prizes. You don't want the preposition. Okay, third one. All the houses was damaged by the storm yesterday.
Miss, can I tell?
Yes, go ahead.
Damage should be the damage should become damaged because this is past tense.
Excellent. What else? Anything else that you notice here? There's one more error, no? Damaged, agreed. This should be in past participle form, damaged.
Miss, shall I tell?
Yeah, go ahead.
Were
Houses plural. All the houses were damaged. Well done. Look at the fourth. His passport had BEING stolen. What's wrong with this?
Has been.
Has been. Anybody else would like to give it a try? His passport had been stolen. Can you remember pattern like this? Had BEING?
Had been, not been.
Exactly, B-double-E-N, not ING. Okay, we use BEING with continuous sentences. Okay, his passport had B-double-E-N, had been stolen. Look at the fifth. The machine has not been used for ages. What's wrong with this? The machine has not been?
Teacher, the machine has not been used for
Exactly. We use past participle form, not ing. We don't use ing in passive voice sentences. Past participle form. The machine has not been used for ages. Sixth one. The results will be published in the newspaper. Being How can you correct it?
Be
Results will be
Will be.
published. Results will be published. What are the results? Don't worry, they'll be published in the newspaper. Will be published. Look at the last one. This statue is built in 1936. Why is it that?
The statue was built.
Last year,
The statue was built in 1936.
very correct. 1936. We're talking about something which happened in the past. Which tense should we use? We need to use past. This statue was built in 1936. Great. Yep. I hope you can hear me. Fill in the blanks with an appropriate verb. Many accidents by dangerous driving. See, accidents plural, and this is a general statement. Hungak accidents siddha wenne careless driving nisa. Many accidents is caused. Wrong. Are caused by dangerous driving. Think of an appropriate verb for the second. Cheese from milk. You want to say cheese adani kirivali. Cheese.
Produce.
Made from
Cheese produced from milk.
Cheese is made. Correct. Cheese, we consider this as singular. We can't use are. Cheese are? No. Cheese is. Past participle form, make, made, made. Or produce, produced, produced. Past participle form. Cheese is made from milk. How is cheese made? Cheese is made from milk. Look at the third. The roof of the building in a storm a few days ago. Think about the tense. The roof of the building
was damaged.
Good job.
Was damaged.
Good job. The roof was damaged. You need to use past tense. Roof singular was. Correct. Look at the fourth. You to the wedding. Why didn't you go?
Has before third one.
Well, hold on. Yes. We did use past tense.
Hit by a lot of.
We
We
were.
were
Think of an appropriate word.
hit by a lot of other cars. We were hit by a lot of other cars.
We were overtaken. We were overtaken. Take, took, taken.
We were passed by.
Okay, we were passed. We were passed by a lot of other cars. We were overtaken by a lot of other cars. Read the complete sentence, then only you can understand whether this is past tense or present or future. Look at the last. You can't see the building from the road. It by trees. It has been covered
by trees.
Covered.
Correct. It is by trees. Or it is surrounded by trees. You can't see the building. It is surrounded by trees. It is covered by trees. Very good. Huh? Good job. Excellent. Okay. Now let's practice. Let me explain from the beginning. Thank you so much for bringing it out. Fuel efficient cars. This is the object. Bring it forward. This is plural. Are. Fuel efficient cars are produced in Japan. Remember the 5 steps. Identify the object, bring it forward, write the helping verb, past participle form of the main verb. Fuel efficient cars are produced in Japan. Number 2, people elect a president for a period of 5 years. President කෙනෙක් පත් කරන්නේ අවුරුදු 5ක කාල සීමාවකට. People subject, elect verb, a president object. Bring it forward. A president singular is elected for a period of 5 years. Clear? A president is elected for a period of 5 years. Third one, they check all the details here. All the details, this is object, plural, are checked here. All the details are checked here. Fourth one, they produce quality tea in Sri Lanka. This is object, quality tea. Do we consider this as singular, plural? Quality tea are or quality tea?
Quality is
Yes,
produced
this is singular.
in Sri Lanka.
Quality tea
is made,
produced
in Sri Lanka.
Brilliant. Excellent. Quality tea is produced in Sri Lanka. Lanka quality tea. Quality tea is produced in Sri Lanka. Look at the fifth. They have completed the project. The project singular.
The project is report has been project report
No problem.
have completed. Project
This is present perfect. For present perfect, what is the pattern? Has or have been. Past participle. That's correct. The project report has been completed. You need to identify the tense. You need to figure out the tense. Number 6, they have selected the suitable candidate. Something similar, present perfect. Suitable candidates
have been
plural.
selected.
This is plural.
Have been selected.
Selected.
The suitable candidates have been
Candidates plural.
candidates have been selected.
Well done. Suitable candidates have been selected. Select kala tiyenne. Qualified candidates select kala tiyenne. Suitable candidates have been selected. No chance for you. They finished the project last week. Which tense is this?
Project finished. Has been. The project has been.
Was nice. This is past tense. For simple past tense, was over. Past tense.
The project was finished last week.
It was finished last week. The project was finished last week. Correct. So remember the subject verb agreement. Subject verb agreement if the object is singular, helping verb has to be singular, project singular. Verb finished, was finished. And the last one, they will consider all the options available.
All the options will be available.
No.
All the options will be considered.
Correct. All the options available will be considered. All the options available will be considered. Good, no? Well done. Great job. Sumudu, is it all right if I ask them to try this as their homework at home?
Okay, miss.
Okay. What you can do is to look at the table I have given you. I'm going to share this PowerPoint presentation with you. Look at the table. Using the table, you can rewrite these sentences in passive voice. I'll help you with the first one. What you need to do is to omit the vague subject. Can you see the subject within brackets? You need to omit it in your sentence. You need to rewrite this in passive voice. See, this is simple present tense. This is the object. This fact, singular, is past participle form, know, knew, known. This fact is known very well. Yes?
Teacher,
Yes.
this fact is known by. We have to do all the activities we discuss now.
Yeah, you can, right? Not immediately. You take a break. After the session, you take a break and look at the table I have shared with you. Looking at the table, you can give it a try. Okay? First of all, you need to figure out the tense. Isalama identify karaganna me tense එක මොනවාද? But this one, simple present. This one, past tense. This one, simple future. Okay? So likewise, identify the tense and then apply it. Okay? So you can do this as a homework. So
Teacher,
yeah,
what we have to do in this back bracket?
you have to omit it. You have to drop it. You need to omit this in your answer. Now, first one, this fact is known very well. See, You have
Everyone
noticed the-
know this fact.
Okay, teacher, I understand.
Everyone know this fact very well.
this fact, this is the object, you bring it forward, write the helping verb, write the past participle form of the main verb. This fact is known very well. Make a danna karanaya. This fact is known very well. You need
The
to
theater opened last month.
helping verb.
The
Was
theater was opened last
That's
month.
correct. Okay. All right.
The theater was opened last month.
Okay. So you can give it a try as your homework, right? And there's another for you. What is it? This is the last one. Last one. I have given you 4 passive voice sentences. I want you to write active voice sentences. I'll help you with the first. Attendance of students is marked daily. This is passive voice. Now to write a sentence in active voice, you need a doer. You need to mention the person who does the action, who marks your attendance, your teacher, right? Teachers. Yeah, class teachers mark the attendance of students daily. So to write these sentences in active voice, think of an appropriate doer. Okay?
Teacher.
So that's it from my end. I hope you enjoyed the session. It is really nice that you understood the concept next week as well. So Madhu, over to you.
Thank you very much, madam, for that inspiring session filled with knowledge. Then, to conclude today's proceedings, I would like to invite the Secretary of the Advanced English Skills Improvement Unit, Charaka Veerasinghe, to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you.
Thank you, Danidu. Right, boys. So before I move on to the vote of thanks, there's a notice to be given about the second phase of Grammarian's Guide. Now, as you all know, for the first phase only, regardless of whether you are a club member or not, you are able to register, right? But for the second phase, only club members will be able to take part. So let's imagine that you are not a club member, but you want to take part in the second phase. So what you have to do is, Malli, we'll be sharing a registration form for you all through the meeting chat after the workshop ends. Wait a few minutes, submit that, right? Once we have your details, we will be adding you all to the club WhatsApp groups. And through that, we'll be giving you all the information for the second phase. I hope that's clear. I'll repeat that once again, right? For the first phase, everyone was allowed to take part. But for the second phase, only club members will be allowed to take part. So if you're not a club member, we'll be sharing a registration form. You have to fill that. And then once you're added to the WhatsApp groups of the clubs, you'll be given the further details. Okay. Now, with that being said, there are a few people I would like to thank. First of all, I would like to thank the following members of the academic staff for providing us with a valuable opportunity to help these young royalists. Principal, Mr. Sanat Jayalat, Deputy Principal, Mr. Prasad Veerasiri, Assistant Principal and Senior Master of Clubs and Societies, Mr. TDCP Amaratunga, Assistant Principal and Senior Games Master, Mr. MAM Riaz, Assistant Principal of the Middle Section, Mrs. Sandamali Gamage, and Teacher in Charge of the Advanced English Skills Improvement Unit, Mrs. Vasana Vijayasinghe. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to you as well as for the support rendered to us. Thank you very much. Next, I would like to thank Ms. Madhuresha Chathurani for the selfless service she has provided to this club and our college. With her support, we have been able to conduct an extremely successful grammar workshop with around 200 participants. I think all of you would agree with me when I say that that was one of the best sessions that you all have faced. In my personal opinion, what made the session special was the manner in which Ms. Madhuresha conducted the session. It was complete, interesting, and interactive with an energy like no other I faced. So on behalf of all the participants present and the top board of the AESIU, I would like to thank Ms. Madhuresha Chathurani for the wonderful service she provided. Thank you very much, Ms. And last but not least, Malli, I would like to thank all the participants who have joined from grade 6 to 11. Despite the situation in the country, as well as power failures, over 200 of you all have joined for this workshop. So on behalf of the top board of AESIU, I would like to extend our gratitude to all the participants for their commitment and support to make this a success. Thank you, Mali. With that, I conclude my vote of thanks. Over to you, Danidu.
Thank you, Aya. So, as we are nearing the end of today's workshop, I hope all of you have found this very informative, interesting, and knowledgeable. As Charkaya said, Phase 2 will be open only for the club members of the AESIU. So, if you are not a member, you can join our club by submitting the registration form, which is in the meeting chat. With that, we have reached the end of today's proceedings. Thank you for joining and hope to see you all on Phase 2 of Grammarian's Guide 22. Have a good day.